Welcome to The Uniformer. Insights into and interviews with the people and companies that drive the markets for uniforms, image apparel, public safety, and workwear.
Hello, welcome to The Uniformer Live. I'm Rick Levine, president here at the NAUMD, and thrilled to be sitting here with my mate. Hey, why don't you introduce yourself, Nik?
Well, thank you. My name's Nik Mirich. I'm the president and partner at Headwear USA. Rick's going to be my interpreter for all of those you that may not understand me. I'll try to articulate a little bit more than my Aussie slang for you, Rick, so that you so you can understand. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Yes, I'm interviewing Nick Dundee, right?
Yeah, correct. Correct.
And I teased you before about, oh, your English is really good, but no, we love having Headwear USA, part of your Australian global, enterprise, part of the network, and it's fantastic. Can you give us like the overview of how that all came about, like, since you started down under, and then where the company grew and how you got here?
Yeah, well, look, first I wanted to say thank you for welcoming us into NAUMD, right? Because, now we're only into that second year and starting to get to know some of the guys. Like it was cool catching up at the event this last year, and you see familiar faces, the guys over at Gauls. Like it was cool, just having a chat and having a beverage, as us Australians like to do.
New people will say, Rick, it feels like everyone knows each other already. And I'll say, yeah, that's the point. It's a network. Yeah. It's a group that, and so I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're right. But yeah, we already do business with some of the distributors, like Hanover Uniforms. They're just down the road from us in Maryland. They're in Hanover, Maryland, and we're over in Frederick, Maryland. So the USA part of our business is in Frederick, over here on the East Coast, near Baltimore, and also wanted to make a mention to Eric Hargraves, right, from Elliott Davis. He gave some really good insight both in year one and year two that we attended, especially through all the volatility of what's happening in the marketplace, and his sort of perspective was really refreshing. So some of those education sessions I thought were really valuable for what you guys bring to the table, and just understanding from the uniform industry, the history. We were talking a little bit about it before, but the history and the people that have been involved for such a long time at NAUMD. And I think that's really relevant. So I appreciate you for that.
Good. Yeah. Thanks. Now back to Headwear USA.
Yeah. Look, as for Headwear, I've been involved for now, it's coming on 19 years. So I was running one of the operations over in Australia. We've got, 4 locations in terms of offices and 5 warehouse spaces. That's where it started. It started off out in Western Australia, all the way on a little island called Rottnest, doing sort of souvenir stuff some time ago. Which is where Peter Barblett, who is the international director and the main business shareholder worldwide, started it off. And then it slowly started expanding in Australia, moved to New Zealand, and then it went through to Canada, and then UK, and then it moved to the US, and then Poland is our hub for Europe. But we've also got sales offices in Sweden and Germany and Belgium, and so we cover all of Europe. So we're truly a global entity, and the beauty about that is we are able to provide solutions now more than ever to distributors, both in workwear and uniform and promotional products industry, to then have that consistency and not have to worry about all the different VAT, GST, HST, all the different acronyms that come with the headaches of having to do business globally. And so, it started off in Australia, expanded worldwide, and we'd be the number one headwear distributor when it comes to headwear. Not many people know of us because, like what we talked about, we're not that brand, right? And so in Australia, it seems to be a lot more workwear, safety related, along with the promo side of our business. So we deal with some of the largest sort of safety providers. In Australia, for example, for workwear and uniform, as an employer, you have to provide sun protection because the UV is so strong, right? Like, it's bloody hot down there, as they'd say, right?
Yeah.
So, for the workwear industry, we do hard hat, helmet brims. We do a lot of like sun hats for protection, and same thing for schoolwear, right? In the first and fourth quarter at school, when my kids were young, in that first and fourth quarter, they'd mandatorily have to wear a hat to play outside. From the first grade through to the sixth grade. And so, you get that phone call from your kids, like, I forgot my hat. And I'm like, go to the lost and found and find one, But so sun protection, uniform, it's a huge part of what we do globally. And we still are doing a lot of that here in the US as well.
And the brand thing that you mentioned is really interesting to me because I understand the concept of private label, right? So I am Hanes, right? And I put out products, of all kinds that are Hanes. And then if somebody wants to have the Hanes product, but it's, got my brand on it, instead of the Hanes label, that's the concept I understand. But from what you've told me, you don't do that even. You just blank. It's just blank. So the distributor could say this is their product, or the customer could say, the end user could say this is their product. It's, you guys kind of don't care in that sense, or, put more of a positive spin on it than don't care.
Well, I'll start with, I'd say it's the silliest marketing strategy on the planet, right? Like, everyone likes to get their brand on something so that if a client sees that brand somewhere else, they can Google it and search for it and then try and find it somewhere else. Whereas for us, that doesn't happen, right? We have to have a direct relationship. We still truly believe it's a relationships business. And so for us, we've grown a global business without having a brand. Like, it is truly a testament to what Peter and Headwear has done worldwide is develop those relationships. And so, correct. We don't put our brand on it because same sort of thing is like, you don't know what values that brand comes with. And so maybe your values don't align with someone else's brand. And so I think that's one big differentiator for us. And so on our blank stock, like, we've literally got millions of dollars worth of stock sitting in our warehouse, and in all the different locations worldwide. So if you want to pull stock from here in the US or pull stock from Australia or UK, you're going to get mostly about 95% of them are similar or same styles and colorways. And so you have that consistency. And so on those, we only got a style code. When it comes to doing our overseas program, right, then you can customize it. You can put your client's label on it. And we're seeing that happening more and more, is where people that are running programs and even the dropship programs, they want their label on the inside. They want their little logo on the side, or just those little retail attributes that are now more and more coming to that marketplace. And so I think the big push from, and we'll say promo or the now print companies coming into the industry, and even uniform, is like, and they want to be able to be that brand. And so the big thing that people don't know about us is we're actually manufacturing for other, we'll say, suppliers that may not focus on headwear, right? But we're an extension of their supply chain, and then we manufacture for them, and same sort of thing. We'll make them the brand. Whether it's a supplier or a distributor, the big thing for us is we do not go to the end user. Like, it doesn't matter how big the order opportunity is, whether it's Coca-Cola or whatever it might be. We have a strict rule that we do not go to that end user. We don't hold any licensing. We rely on the distributors that we work in with to have that. So that's a big thing. A lot of different suppliers have a retail side of it or an end user side of it, and then have the supplier side of it. We actually don't do that. We just choose to leave the headaches up to the distributors, because we sort of see how hard that is for distributors to work in with end users at times. But yeah, we're a true supplier.
So it seems like the promo industry, and this I'm totally stereotyping, right?
Yeah.
Has been able to hold on to that vertical structure longer than the uniform industry held on. Because we do have a lot of, I mean, let's keep picking on Cintas, for example, just,
Right.
great company, amazing company, but they
Right.
both buy blanks and they manufacture and bring stuff in by the container load, right? And they're selling to the end users. So so they're really kind of both, right? They're and like a workwear outfitters will have certain, contracts with the government, but then really their bread and butter is, selling through sales channels. So we
Right.
do have this monster gray area in our industry, like most industries. I'm not saying the uniform industry is evil, not by any stretch, right? We're just typically responding. And what's my question here, Nik? The question is, right, is that has really changed the global supply chain in essence, right? And
Right.
since your company operates, right, at a global scale, you're not just in one region and then sourcing globally on behalf of that region. You're selling and warehousing in multiple, at least 3 different continents, should we say, right?
Right.
and regions or parts of the world. But then you're also sourcing from many places yourself. So how do you see all the global sourcing matrix changing over time, or for the better or for the worse? Or maybe it's too broad a question. I'll shut up now. What do you think?
It's not a broad question, but I'll break it up. The first part of what you were talking about was, some of our clients going direct, and we understand, like, if the timeline is there and that time factor, or if they do have a source that they can have, like, they can fulfill those needs. I think it's becoming harder and harder to do that, but it warrants them going overseas to get that government contract or whatever it is. We completely understand that, right? And it happens both in all the worlds, promo or uniform or whatever, safety. It happens, but the thing there is then you've got to be an expert in all of those things. And for us, we just chosen to be an expert in one singular thing, which is headwear, whether it's bucket hats, beanies, or caps, and go global, right? Be a lot more difficult to do if you're just based out of Australia, right? But here I say is, even for what we do and an expert in what we do, it still has its difficulties. So my thing is to say, hey, look, we know what the issues with logistics are, right? And it depends on, like, what country you're manufacturing in. And during that, the tariff hikes, right? And just to let you know, right, I'm no politics in this, Rick, but right. I am a US citizen now, so please don't call your people, right? But here I say, during those IEEPA tariff hikes, people were jumping around, shifting production to Myanmar, Pakistan, Vietnam, and difficulty with headwear is it's skilled labor, right? Like, it is a really difficult thing to do. So just, not only the equipment that you need and the skilled labor that you need, but also the logistics, the deep sea ports and the supply chain headaches that come along with such a product as headwear. It's not as easy as people think. And even the likes of, like, Sanmar trying to move into, Africa, or like everyone, even the largest of the industry, have had struggles with that. So we've stayed with the same factory, and I was the only one in the US that was being affected by those tariffs. And so we stayed with something that's true, tried and tested. And so it comes back to supply chain, but it also comes back to that ethical sourcing, right? It's like, are you dealing with a reputable company? And that's a really hard thing to not only find, but also maintain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So talk a little bit more about that. I know sustainability and transparency and, ethics, like you're saying, have been a core, you and I have talked about that before, that's a very important ingredient for headwear, right? The headwear, the company, not headwear like the product market.
And when I say headwear, I've got to roll my R's. So I've got to say headwear with an R. When I say headwear, please understand it.
What are customers? What are customers asking for? And are you seeing a difference, globally as well? Like, are they more aggressive in their sustainability questions in Europe than they are in the US? That's like the stereotype, is that Europe's 10 years ahead of us on sustainability,
I literally am the most blessed guy in terms of being a partner in headwear, in the fact that I don't have to be the expert, right? I just take that information, I pass that on to the team. Right now, Michael Barblett, who's running our Headwear UK operation, he goes to all the product responsibility summits, and he's got a full understanding of what's happening on that side of it. So, social responsibilities of having all the audits. So as soon as one of our clients brought in EcoVadis, right? EcoVadis is a self-assessment, and we were able to get a gold standard. We were like literally 1 point away from getting to that platinum standard on EcoVadis. So that's been a really big push internationally, is having these certifications and testing and the likes that come along with it. So on top of that, where we've got our SMETA 4-pillar audit, which is housed on CEDEX, we've got the BSCI, we've got fabric certifications under Ocotex. There's, we're doing stuff for distributors that are working in with Disney, that are working in with McDonald's, that are working in with Walmart, right? And to our previous conversation, even someone like Walmart, right, that is so huge and understands supply chain, even they have to then go to other distributors to be able to fulfill some of those urgent orders, right? So the fact is, if you have a retail program that takes, 18 months to come to fruition, like a standard retail program that you would see from whether it's, Nike or whoever else it is, in what we do, it comes down to that speed. So who can you use? Who do you have on your supply chain that ticks all of those boxes? And I can tell you right now, we're fortunate enough to be able to tick every single one of those boxes to give the distributor the assurances that you need to be dealing with the likes of Starbucks or Amazon or some of these larger corporate clients that these guys are working with. And it is becoming a lot more difficult to maintain. And right now, here in the US, they've got the new extended producer responsibility, the EPR laws, which has to do with packaging, right? And it comes down to cardboard usage and plastic and shipping into different states. Now, it's not across the entire of the US, but I mean, you need a basic law degree to kind of understand it. And can I just tell you, it's been a bit of a journey. Let's just say that.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. There's a lot of these rules changing quickly, right? Or, sometimes some might say it's changing too slowly, but it's still, from a manufacturing standpoint, and especially when you talk in terms of, months and years, that's a lot of planning. And you've mentioned retail, a few times in relation to like promo products and in relation to uniforms, and and there's this, we've talked about kind of more of a retail look if you will. I know
Right.
that's a part, when you say the word retail, that's a part of what we're discussing too, is kind of style. So how do you think about, I mean, all of those different trends? Because we have end users in just about every job title,
Right.
out there, right? Just in the US, 40 million workers, let's say, wear a uniform to work. And the likelihood that we want to put them in soft headwear of some kind at some point
Yeah.
is high, right? It's high.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you wish it was 100%, Nick, but it's a high percentage that uses, not the hard hat, not the, not the
Correct.
6-pointed public safety, handmade cap.
Yeah.
But so how do you deal with retail trends? How do you guys try to respond?
Look, like we're seeing concepts come from all over the world. So that's the other advantage is like we're seeing what's trending in Australia, and the deep fit trucker with the stripes on the side. You'll see some of them in the background here, in terms of some of the different styles and designs that we're doing from the workwear safety side. Like I'll just point out one of the caps that I've got in my hands here, but like rather than making like a full safety hat, it's just got a safety element. So when you're talking about construction, warehousing, or whatever it might be, this is not something only that they might wear, at work, right, as a safety element, but they also might then introduce it to something that the guys want to wear when they're not at work, right? Like something that they're proud of. I think it's still, it's all about having the identity in terms of in place of your guys. And I mean, when I was working in Australia, we were working on a Toyota project, and they were doing all these funny different stripes on the side. They'd have 2 red stripes or 2 yellow stripes or 1 yellow stripe. And I asked the guys, I was like, why are they only wanting 100 of the one with this stripe and 2,000 of this stripe? And I was like, and they explained it, and they basically said, because when they're on the floor of the workshop, right, they want to identify how many managers are on the floor versus how many workers were on the floor, or how many assistants were sitting on the floor. And they were able to identify from sitting in the offices above the warehouse as to who was who in the warehouse itself. And so it was a pretty cool,
Wow.
it was a pretty cool thing. Whereas the hat was not only a safety element, but also an identifier for the workplace, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, then we go into, the different programs, and it was, some of the awards, the awards that you saw at the NAUMD show. Like, we understand that there's the police and military, and there's certain specifications, and it was mind-blowing to see the different suppliers in the uniform industry when we came to the show a couple of years ago, and the expertise these people bring in, right? Because those uniforms are the identity for those police officers. And when they jumped up on stage and they were showing how proud they are of the uniforms that they wear. Then there's the secondary part to that, is like you were talking about before, is, well, what are they wearing when they're not on the show floor? Like, you're talking about, let's say, the service departments of something like the Audi cap, right? They've got the little woven pip label on the back. They've got the little accents on the inside with their own brand on the inside, with the PVC badging on the front, right? That there now becomes a little bit more than just a uniform. Now they're proud to wear it. They're walking the dog. They're going to the grocery store or whatever it is, and they're able to wear something outside of the uniform space as well. And I think that's where we capture sort of that marketplace of what's happening. And then when you go full retail, you go with, what's trending. Corduroy's now trending. That's 50,000 stitches on the side of a cap, right? That's a true trophy piece. That's something that someone's going to then hold on to, whether it's recognition or, whatever it might be when it comes to hats. Hats is we always joke around when people tell me, well, what do you do for work? And I say, I save lives, Rick. They're like, what do you mean you save lives? You a doctor or something? No, I'm in sun protection. I'm pretty important, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sun protection is just one of them. Then you've got, the perceived value and the billboard effect and recognition. And then you've got the idea that this thing is a trophy piece. I mean, I'd ask you how many caps you or someone in your family, has a room full of caps that you cannot throw away, because they are that trophy, that memory peg from the golf day or from that employer that gave you that recognition to be able to hold on to. And people hold on to them for years. I mean, I'd always would say that it's the number one product in the marketplace because people hold on to it.
It's so interesting. And I think about that over the decades, we've had this I mean, it's a bit of a tension, but it's also just plain old business and commerce between promo products and uniforms, right?
Yeah.
And some of what you were just describing is that tension, and they complement and they compete, and they work together, and they and they don't work together. It's like, well, no, I want them to just be the uniform. Right. But yet when you show like the car dealership, no, most car dealerships also have that little case out front where you can get some swag, where you could get the, I love Audi. I want to get the Audi cap while I'm there. And it's the same cap that the staff might be wearing, or you do one that's slightly different so that, there is a differentiation.
Right.
But so that's really interesting. And the amount of embroidery in that one panel you showed, that's just crazy. I mean, I don't know that I've seen that. I've seen screen print a panel, right?
Yeah.
But to put 50,000 stitches, I mean, that's like a $500 cap.
Well, that's the thing, is like we won't say what that cap's worth, because I wouldn't want to undervalue it to any end user that ends up seeing it. But yeah, look, we do a value-added product. But like you were saying, is now more, and I think the uniform industry has to be very aware that a lot of promo people are getting into uniforms.
Sure.
We had a client that did this bucket hat for. Now I'm not the perfect model, but this is a Sherpa. Sherpa bucket hat for the Winter Olympics in Milan just a year or so ago. So, and that was staff wearing it for a specific client, So the idea that a lot of people, whether it's we'll say gas stations or the food services industry, a lot of promo people aren't doing just promo. They're starting to head into that space of uniform, and it's somewhat starting to cross over, I'd say. And I don't know if it's more, because I don't, once again, for what a lot of the NAUMD guys provide, that's real specialty stuff. But then what's your value add? Because as the world gets smaller, that pie, remains the same, and it's people are starting to delve more and more into different things. And you mentioned there's a couple of NAUMD clients that have multiple lanes, whether that's Superior Uniform Group with Bamco, right?
Yep. Yes, they're a great example. Yes,
and they go hand in hand, right? It's what they know, and it's similar supply chains. But yeah, I feel like it's happening more and more. Yeah.
No, very similar supply chains, and you get distributor focused suppliers such as you, right? You're not going the end user isn't of interest to you. You focus on the B2B market, and a company similar to you in our space is like Edwards Garment, right? They're a very valued network member of ours, and they exclusively focus on promo and uniforms, right? And they go hand in hand, and the products, my understanding is they're not different. I'm going to get that same vest or that same shirt, right? No matter which I'm ordering. And I've also heard, I hear companies that sell both. They like it because you don't know what gets you in the door. You know,
Correct.
you show up and you have your promo business card and you have your uniform business card, and whichever one they seem to react to first is where your foot is in the door. And they both have tremendous opportunity still for expansion. There's really, yes, maybe you could argue we have a finite number of people that wear a uniform, but products are changing, companies are changing. There's just so much change, so much change in the world.
It's like creating that corporate swag part, which is uniform. Corporate swag is uniform, and obviously there's event driven stuff as well. That feeds into that, but I'd like to think there's more than enough business out there. And it's once again ever changing now with technology. You know what I mean?
Major. And so speaking of technology, we're becoming very performance oriented in our products and in the demands that our end users are asking of the products. You mentioned the sunscreen too, but you have this product that I don't know that I've ever heard the term. It's what is it called again? Hydrophobic. Like literally, you mean literally like the hat is afraid of water? I mean, what is that?
Correct. It's a pretty unique term that we use. But you see it right now in the retail marketplace with melon, right? Melon's selling those for $75 to $85 to the retail marketplace, right? And
a hydrophobic product, you're saying?
It's like a water repellent sort of fabric where the water just rolls off of it, right? And so, we do a good, better, best product, right? Now, we're not going to be a cheap throwaway item, right? That's what people have considered as a promo products item, right? It's just a throwaway item. We don't delve into that. We're more into the business of creating something that has that retail effect without the price tag. And so we mimicked some of those retail designs, right? And with the perforation, that's been a really big push for us. You'll see some of them, up on the stand here. And this is that hydrophobic sort of element with that perforation style that you're seeing in that marketplace.
I understand. Okay.
But once again, like I was saying, without the brand in it, you know what I mean? So it's just a matter of, where does that fit in? Where does that fit in for the end user, and what are those needs? So that's one of our specialties, and the beauty for us is that we do have the stock of these products. We do decorate domestically, and so for that integration with AI and the APIs is becoming more and more relevant, right? So now with all those platforms, like there's promo standards, which is like the integration. They're trying to come up with some sort of uniform process to integrate into different platforms, and with so many different platforms you need to have that standard. And so we have data rich information that we are plugged into a lot of those platforms to then make it easy, right? And so it's like, where does that fit in for the uniform industry? What's sort of on that cutting edge for what's happening there? But I think that's going to be a really big push. Not only are the distributors, the uniform companies that are going to be demanding it, their clients are going to then be demanding it. And they just want to make it easy. Even though relationships is a big thing, a lot of the buying now is they just want to click a button and they want to make it really simple. So that works for us now, because and it's been difficult. It's been a challenge for us because being international, it's got to talk all the languages.
Yes.
Right? And fortunately enough, most of those languages are in the English vernacular.
But they're not always metric.
Correct. Correct. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so
imagine that is a huge challenge, right? I've
it
watched,
really
you
is,
know.
and it's ever changing. We've seen people
Mhm.
like try to get ahead of it and get absolutely, desolated by it.
Yeah.
We're sort of sitting in the pocket because every single day it just seems like something new is trying to pop up. So we're trying to find that mainstay of like what works. What's gonna come out of it, because what's relevant today definitely will not be relevant tomorrow, and we just got to stay ahead of it. And the best way to do that is to be part of something like NAUMD or BPAI or any one of the other industries. So I think having those conversations with other suppliers and distributors alike, I think it's very important. I mean, I can't tell you how important people like yourself are, to have that cohesiveness and education for where the industry's going. I mean, World Emblem, he got up and at the last NAUMD show, and he sits on both promo and uniform.
He does, yeah.
And they do a fantastic job. Them and Stalls, they're on the cutting edge of doing that, and just seeing him jump up on stage at NAUMD and sort of made me feel like, hey, I might be falling behind here, but like they are right at the front of it as a decorator. A little bit different to the product itself, but all in all the same. Yeah.
Well, right, but you are likely, if not already, going to be suppliers for each other, right? In some capacity, right?
Correct. And and what some of the platforms are doing now,
yeah,
and we'll use Stall's Fulfill engine, is they're creating a platform where suppliers put their product on to that platform, and then the distributors and uniform guys can actually log into their system, order our caps to then add the decoration, and then we'll produce all of it for them. And it's more like a one billing system. So it's like, how do you get onto all the platforms? Well, that's always the challenge, is to sort of keep an ear and eye out for it and sort of see where that fits into what you do. Yeah.
So far, it looks like you guys are doing that great.
We're giving it a shot. It's got its challenges,
Sure it does. So,
but
Headwear-USA or headwearusa.com?
Yeah, Headwear-USA. Headwear-USA.com. That's headwear with an R.
Careful how you spell it. Excellent. Well, Nik, it was such a pleasure to speak with you today about it all. And you are an expert as well, my friend. I know you kept referencing other people you were complimenting as experts, but I always learn about the industry and headwear and manufacturing when I talk to you. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for having me on, and until the next one, and for all those uniform distributors out there, definitely, if they want to, they can reach out, get in touch. I'm sure we'll have a feather to put in their cap, right?
Good. That's the tack. All right. Thank you so much, Nik.
All right. Take care.